From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello, and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. I want to talk to you today about something I've been thinking about that came up with a client recently, and this was about the male gaze. And I recently posted on social media about this, and we've been talking about this in my By Life group. And I just want to put it out into the world as food for thought. So this is what came up. I've been talking to a client. This is not the first time I've heard this, but talking to a client who has a lot of conditioning, many layers of conditioning, just like so many of us, right? She's not any different. It's a woman who came out later in life after a long-term marriage and kids, and she's finally moved into a space in life where she can start to explore what it would be like to live fully in her authentic self and fully out and queer, and is considering dating. And as she moves out into the world and starts considering this, she is realizing a couple of things. One is that she has a part of her that really judges her critically and shames her for what her physical body looks like, telling her that she's gained too much weight to basically attract a woman, and that it's impossible that any woman out there would ever be attracted to her, number one. And then number two, has noticed that even if she is looking out at women around her, this same part also really only knows how to consider whether or not a woman is attractive based on sort of like a male gaze kind of way. Physically, objectifyingly looking at a woman in terms of whether or not, she has that great body that goes along with what, would be qualified as hot by a male gaze. And she doesn't like this about herself, and she doesn't know how to undo it. So this is something that we've been talking about. And it got me thinking just about the conditioning, the deep conditioning, which I talk about in all of my episodes, all of the conditioning that we have really as a society. Men have a lot of conditioning too. I'm not saying that they don't, but my interest is in the conditioning that affects women's power and basically strips us of our power. That there are so many societal constructs and also religious constructs that strip us of our power, strips us of our pleasure, strips us of knowing what our worth is and what our value is in society, that goes beyond just taking care of other people and making other people happy. That has been my interest from the beginning. I say from the beginning, what I actually mean is from the beginning of my conscious awareness that something was off. And that started really early for me. So I grew up in a family with a mother and a father and a half brother. And I noticed something was not right when my father would come home from work. My mother would come home from work, and there were very different roles and energies around these two people who were so important to me coming home from work. My mom would come home, even though I hadn't seen her for a lot of the day, and it would be, 6:00 at night or something. She would come home and I would watch her run around the kitchen like a chicken without a head, trying to get dinner ready and on the table for our family. My dad would roll in closer to 7, and we would hear the garage door open, and everything had to happen before the sound of the garage door opening. Because if dinner wasn't on the table, there was going to be a problem and he was going to get angry, and he had quite a temper then. I remember being a little kid and trying to take in what was happening around me and literally just so confused. Why does she have to do all this? And he gets to stroll in, dinner's already made, and then he gets to yell at her if she forgot to put ketchup on the table, or, it doesn't taste the way he wanted it to. I don't understand. Like, what is happening here? And I remember literally from like 4, 5, 6 years old, telling myself on the inside that I would never, ever marry a man. That is literally what I told myself. And I did marry a man, but I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know about the conditioning back then, but I can tell you I picked up on there being a big problem, and I did not want to take care of my father's needs when he acted like that. And also, why couldn't he get up? If I was sitting at the table as a 5-year-old, why would either my mother or me have to get up to go get what he needed? Why couldn't he stand up and go get it? And this infuriated me as a tiny child. So when I say from the very beginning, I truly mean from my very beginning, I have been very interested in the conditioning and trying to understand what the heck is going on here. That has been my interest from the beginning of time, from the beginning of becoming the lesbian curiosity coach on social media, from the beginning of creating my Unbox Your Sexuality program, which is a program that deconstructs the conditioning in a phased method: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, unpack, unlearn, unleash. And this male gaze piece is part of that. It is when it becomes internalized. It is internalized misogyny. When it's externalized, it is devaluing women because women are only valuable based on what their body looks like. And I know many straight women certainly look at themselves through this lens. I know I did when I was straight. And I know many straight women are also very judgmental of other women. And, it's almost like a competition. Who can be of more value? I'm in better shape than she is. I look younger than she is. She doesn't look that good for her age. Oh, she gained some weight, right? So these are conversations that go around in the circles of straight women. I can assure you, at least in the time that I've been out, which is 24 years, I have never heard anything like that in any circle I've been in of gay women talking about one another, because our bodies do not represent our value. Our value is based in all of the other things about who we are and our energy and our essence and how we move through the world, not in what our body looks like and if it is attractive to the male gaze or not attractive to the male gaze. I work with late bloomers, and my guess is if you're listening to this podcast, you have realized somewhere later in life that you're bisexual, you're queer, you're gay. And what I want to talk about is this need, when you come out later in life, to do some real detective work about where these constructs are affecting the way that you're living your life. I got a message on TikTok a few days ago after I posted this from a woman who's been out for a number of years, but she said, another layer I still have to unpack, more work I have to go back to and unpack after I posted this post on the male gaze and internalizing it. And she said, I've been telling myself I can't start dating women until I lose 20 pounds. This is woven into the fabric of society. It's woven into the fabric of our gender identity as women when we are straight. And there's something to being embodied and being physically healthy and physically active and, body help you stay physically active and healthy. But that body that does that can look so many different shapes and sizes. There isn't just a one size fits all in terms of what a healthy embodied body can look like. But we have learned that there is. I've been getting feedback also from women that are in my BiLife community on this topic. And something that came to me this week when I was posting this post was how there's something youth and age oriented. And I called it childlike, and maybe it's more teenage like, but it's not independent, powerful woman like, that I can tell you, about this male gaze. The male gaze does not look out and see an embodied, powerful, intelligent, independent, strong-minded, strong-bodied woman as hot. And I'm generalizing, but that's okay, because there is enough of the population that this goes for that I can generalize here. I don't love to generalize. I like to be very nuanced. So I know if you're a guy and you're listening and you're not this, you have not fallen for the conditioning. But I can tell you that this is the general rule. Men do not look at women who are on in their years, that, have hair coming in that's gray, that have some wrinkles and are not perky everywhere and are menopausal and puffy and whatever else we are. Men are not looking at us and objectifying us. We're free of that when we reach a certain age, which on one hand you'd think would be really amazing. And I think there is a movement of women that are kind of like, I'm menopausal, fuck you all. I'm just going to be happy by myself with my cat or with my dog, right? I hear a lot of that these days. And a lot of straight women just are not interested in being in relationships with men because of this. And I also watch some women do everything they can to maintain this like 18-year-old looking body that is, tiny, and they have all of the plastic surgeries done. They've had their boobs done. They've had a tummy tuck. They've had their vulva fixed or whatever. I mean, you name it, I have heard it. They're getting Botox regularly and they're dyeing their hair all the time, and they are fighting that aging. And I really believe that that fight and all of that money that is earned by these industries that play off this, that fight is essentially coming from misogyny and the male gaze, and what we have learned, which is our value in the world is based on our attractiveness and youthfulness, and whether or not men look at us and think we are hot. And if you don't have that, you don't have value. And this is deeply conditioned, just like compulsory heterosexuality. I mean, deeply, deeply conditioned. So much so that even though you might exit compulsory heterosexuality, you still might exit and be walking around with this construct playing out inside of you. And you're now looking at other women and going on and judging what other women's bodies look like and commenting on their weight and all of these things. I just want to say, if that's you, you have work to do. You have work to do to unbox yourself from the conditioning of this toxic construct that strips women's power and value down to what their body looks like. And I just want to let you know that what our body looks like has nothing to do with your value, who you are in the world, what your essence is, what your purpose is. And it has nothing to do with your womanness. It is important. It is urgent for you to start questioning yourself when you hear yourself commenting about yourself or other women in this way. Now, the other piece of this that I brought up in this post that I did is that there is something about this obsession with youth and looking young. I'm going to tighten my skin and tighten my everything up and take away all my wrinkles. And right, I want to still look young. I want to still look young. There's something about that and wanting to look young so that you are valuable that to me has energy of a young, dependent child. Your value is dependent on being seen in this very young way. And the only time you ever really looked all that young was when you were that young. You're not that young anymore. You have years of experience and wisdom. You have lived through losing people and accidents and illnesses and diagnoses and possibly having children and raising children and losing parents. You have lived through so many things that have so much more to do with who you are as a person today outside of your next Botox appointment and your next hair coloring appointment and how tight your skin is and how youthful you are appearing, whether that is to men or to women. You have a lot more value than that. That is diminishing yourself, right? This part of you is diminishing yourself. And there is something about it, like this need to remain youthful, that becomes almost like a dependency on other people seeing you a certain way or through this lens, that all your energy starts to go there and it's not going to the places where it could be going, whether that's building new friendships, having new experiences. I mean, if you just imagine the energy that you're putting towards that, whether it's towards yourself or other people, and imagine that you did not have that, what would you do with all that energy? You know, where would that go? So I want to self-disclose that I was very focused on the male gaze when I was straight, before I knew I was gay, I would say, because, you know, I was straight because of compulsory heterosexuality. I'm quite sure of that. And a lot of that had to do for me with having been sexually abused and having had multiple molestation situations. And my way of overcoming those was by becoming extremely seductive, knowing exactly how to get the male gaze. And this way, I was the one that was in control. When I came out, when I met my first partner, it vanished. I never looked at myself that way again. And I never looked at women like that. I had never looked like women. I had never looked at women like that in the first place. It was only internal, but it went away. It completely went away. And if I had not come out and I had continued to base my value, worth, and power on being able to attract the male gaze, and was getting to be the age that I am now, which is, I just turned 57. If I was this age, I would probably be pretty panicked about how I look, because I've got gray hair coming in and I've got some wrinkles and my body is not what it used to be. And I would feel pretty insecure about myself to have lost that power that I had. And I want to say to anyone out there who feels that they have lost their power, that you need a new lens, that you are looking through the wrong lens. You are looking through a heteropatriarchal lens. And through this new lens, when you look through it, you can see your beauty and your value and your power, and how absolutely stunning and gorgeous and breathtaking that is, because you are a woman, and women are beautiful creatures in every size, shape, and color. We are innately, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, superior. I truly believe it. We are innately superior. We are able to nurture and love with intuition, because we have deep knowing and intuition that comes to us that men typically do not have. We have a lot of goddess-like power that has been, I'm going to say, feared by men, which is why they took our power away. and made us dependent upon our value only being determined by whether or not men find us attractive. If this is you, I encourage you to really ask yourself these questions. I hear many women who say, I'm attracted to women, but only sexually. Well, that sure sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because really, what value do women have beyond just being they're sexy and they're hot? What value do they have? What value do you have beyond being in shape and looking great and having tight everything, or working really hard to get there? Or parts of you that are shaming you because you're not there and that's not the body type you were born with and you're never going to get there. What value would that give you to have? Then what? What if you had that? Then what? What's going to change? Notice what parts of you that have been deeply conditioned by this construct are saying to you about yourself, and get curious. Ask them what the goal is of what they're saying to you. What are they trying to achieve when they come in and tell you that you've got to lose 20 pounds before you even start dating? I mean, look at you. What is it that they're trying to achieve? What is their goal when they tell you that? And what then is this part afraid would happen if it didn't come in and tell you that, and you didn't focus on losing the 20 pounds, and you did go out there and start meeting people, and you did try to start dating? Then what could happen? Ask yourself the hard questions. Lean into curiosity. Your value and your worth has nothing to do with what your body looks like. Let's talk about what your body does for you or has done for you, whether you've run races or you love hiking or you love cycling or you love kayaking or you love walking or you love swimming or you love taking your dog for a walk or you love skating. You like to dance. You love to sing. What does your body do for you every friggin' day? And what kind of acknowledgement does it get for what it does for you? Not what it looks like, but what it does for you. What if you lean into that? Then what would happen? What would be different? What would your energy level be like if you just started to appreciate and acknowledge and thank your body every day for all it has done for you and continues to do for you? We're all getting older. Every day lived is a day lost. We can't stop that clock. We can't turn back the time. We can dye our hair, we can get Botox, we can get all these surgeries to try to make us younger, but it's not. We're actually aging. And our bodies might not do all the things they used to do, right? I used to be able to hike 20 miles. Now I can't do that anymore. My body gives out. So I've got to take shorter hikes. All kinds of things I used to be able to do, I can't do anymore, but I can still do a lot of things. And I'm really appreciative of the way that my body still works for me. So start asking yourself these questions. Start looking at how you talk to yourself about yourself. And if those are based on the constructs that society, the heteropatriarchal society, has laid out, that wants you to stay dependent upon the male gaze and what that says is valuable about you, so that you have no power. It just wants you to be stripped of your power. Is that how you want to live your life? Is that how you want to look at other women? Ask yourself those hard questions. Get curious with yourself. And if you have any feedback for this episode, or you want to write into me and let me know what it felt like to listen to this, I am here, Samantha at unboxyoursexuality.com. I love feedback. I love when I hear from my listeners and they tell me that something I said landed on them and made them really think. I hope that is what this episode does for you today. Thank you for being here. Remember, the Unbox Your Sexuality program is there for those of you that want to do the work to unpack, unlearn, and unleash yourself from all of this. And the Bi Life community is there for those of you looking for other like-minded people that are doing this work and asking the hard questions and supporting one another and exploring together along with my guidance. Both of those links will also be in the show notes. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?